Hello my friends, what's up and welcome to my channel. If you're new here, my name's Elise. It's great to see you. Thank you so much for clicking on this video. If you're not new, welcome back. It's great to see you. Thanks for joining us. I wanted to end the year by doing a bit of a challenge. At the end of the year, I'm always trying to squeeze in as many books as I can, but this holiday season is absolutely nuts. It's just jam-packed, and with Bookmas and a book editing deadline coming up soon, I really don't have as much time as I want, but I do have a little window, a little time frame where I can squeeze in reading as many books as I can. However, in order to kind of like feel accomplished with the short amount of time that I have, I am going to challenge myself to read as many short books as possible in 12 hours. First, we have The Crane Husband by Kelly Barnhill. This is 118 pages. The next shortest book is Fairest of All, a villain's graphic novel. This one has 124 pages. Then we have A Year Down Yonder by Richard Peck. I picked this up at a windfall table at a secondhand bookstore. This one has 130 pages, and in my opinion, this is just kind of like a classic now, even though it is, I think, a middle grade book. It's something that I definitely should pick up. Then we have The Mistletoe Motive by Chloe Lassay. This is a Christmas bookshop themed story, and this has 179 pages. Then we have A Wrinkle in Time, another classic by Madeline L'Engle. This one has 190 pages, and I do have this audiobook, so I'm hoping I can like tandem read and listen. That way I can still get things done during this 12 hours. Then we have Of Women in Salt by Gabriela Garcia. This is a historical fiction based on, I believe, people from Cuba. Yeah, it's about Cuban immigrants. A haunting meditation on the choices of mothers, the legacy of the memories they carry, and the tenacity of women who choose to tell their stories despite those who wish to silence them. Okay, now I know I'm getting ahead of myself, but I like to have a collection of options, and I'm hoping I can get to a bunch of these, so we'll see. Next we have No One Is Talking About This by Patricia Lockwood, also a book I picked up on the windfall table at a secondhand bookstore. This one is 210 pages including the acknowledgements, 208 without the acknowledgements. I've heard people like Jack Edwards talk about this book and how it wasn't like the most amazing reading experience, but it really stuck with him and made him think, and I really like books like that, and I like that it's a book like that but it's short. Then we have Human Acts by Han Kang. I really want to get to this because this has to do with the uprising of Gwangju in South Korea, so it's like a historical fiction based on a true event. I used to live and teach English in South Korea, if you're new to my channel, so that has like a really special place in my heart. I have been to Gwangju, I have seen memorials and paintings and statues about the Gwangju uprising, so it'll be really interesting to read this. Okay, I know I'm pushing it. There's no way I'm gonna get to these two, but let's just talk about them anyway. Then we have The Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde, another classic. What is with classics being short? They just know how to do like the short and sweet thing, you know what I mean? Short but impactful. This one is 220 pages. And last but not least on this list of short books, we have Rhythm and Muse by India Hale Brown. Oh, I guess it's not that short compared to the others. It's 244 pages. But still, in terms of short books, it is on the shorter end of things. Here is the stack of the short books that I'm going to try and read. We're gonna see how many of these I can get through in 12 hours. Stay tuned and I'll see you on the flip side. Good morning, my friends. I have a reading update for you. Last night I read for about 40 minutes and then was falling asleep reading, so I had to put this down. But this morning I finished it at a little over an hour. It was interesting. I enjoyed kind of just the green, white, and black concept. However, I feel like there were some interesting choices on when they decided to use the green versus the black. I'm no artist, but as a reader, And with my experience, I felt like there were some instances where things could have been emphasized more than the other with certain colors, or like flashbacks could have been like this, since there is like so few colors and there's so few possibilities, if that makes sense. Also, I apologize for the coffee maker, please ignore that. But I need caffeine. I really enjoyed kind of like the backstory as to why the evil queen became evil. It kind of started well before she became evil, and so at least we got to see that good side of her and what happened to cause her. The story actually deals a lot with grief and what I would consider depression and manipulation and kind of a little bit of trauma, because her dad was not a nice person. It still ends, you know, the way it ends. Then I started reading The Crane Husband by Kelly Barnhill. I didn't realize this, but she also wrote When Women Were Dragons, which I have and is on my TBR and I'm very excited to read, as well as The Girl Who Drank the Moon. So she seems like she is very like talented in being able to write a lot of different kinds of books. I am currently 43 pages in and it really sucks you in. I'm really enjoying how the story is being told so far, the little bits of information we get. I will say I kind of expected this to be in the past, but it's actually very in the future. I'm so sorry about my coffee maker. I did not think about that when I started this video. It's told from the perspective of the 15-year-old daughter, but she has not really been treated like a daughter. She's kind of had to step up. My need for caffeine got in the way of my good thinking skills. This story is told in the perspective of the 15-year-old daughter, but because of her circumstances, because of her mom's kind of wily nature and her dad who was ill and then passed away, she really has not been able to be a kid for very long. So it's really interesting because she does not think or act like a 15-year-old, but I could see how someone in her circumstances would come to be that way. Long story short, I'm enjoying it a lot so far. It's very easy to read. I showed y'all this like forever ago in one of my hauls, but so I work at a library, right? Literally on the first checkout, a patron spilled coffee on it and we had to take it out of the system. And my director just was gonna throw it away and I was like, no! So I air dried it. I mean, you can still read it. It's just a little stained. Poor book. I'm glad that I didn't throw it away, or I'm glad that I didn't let her throw it away. Hello friends, I'm currently 2 hours and 41 minutes into my reading challenge and I just finished The Crane Husband. Y'all, this was fascinating. I really enjoyed this book. I'm so glad that I didn't let it get thrown away. I just love this main character. She had a shitty life dealt out to her, but she took it in her own hands and like, she made it work for her, even though she shouldn't have to make it work for her because she's a kid, but she made it work for her and I really liked that. I feel like the author did a fantastic job of really rounding out this whole story, even though it was so short. This book is only 118 pages, but I felt very satisfied with the story as a whole. The plot, character growth, the kind of reveal, the struggle, and just like tying up all of those loose ends. I felt like it was really well done. The next book, A Year Down Yonder by Richard Peck. I heard that this is actually part of a series, but I haven't read the first book and I'm not going to. I'm just gonna read this. This is our next one, coming in at 130 pages, but it is like a middle grade book, so there aren't as many words per page, so I think this will go pretty quickly. Hey friends, I am 3 hours and 8 minutes into my reading journey. I am currently on page 39 of A Year Down Yonder. It's really cute, really reminiscent of Gary Paulson and just those books you read growing up. At least I read these kind of books growing up. I just love the voice of our main female character. She is also 15, which is kind of ironic. The vibes between these two with the character being the same age is vastly different. Also, it's very interesting because this is like in the 1930s and this is supposed to be in the future from now. So it was just like the vibes couldn't be more different, but I'm really enjoying both of them and I think that's really fun. This is set after the Great Depression where things were starting to get better, and now the world, the US, is kind of being thrust into another recession. Not as bad as the Depression, but things are being felt pretty severely. So our main female character is being sent to live with her grandma because her parents are like downsizing where they live in Chicago. So she's been sent out to her grandma's kind of farm slash ranch. She went from being a city girl to a country girl. Her grandma is very like, no nonsense, this is how things are gonna go. She's treated differently at school because she's a city girl. So I think this is a story of our main female character learning to find her place and growing some confidence in herself and in her skills, you know, out in the country, because she's definitely learning some skills. She's learning how to stick up for herself. She's learning how to bake pies, and she's learning how to make the people in the city like her, while they can also be intimidated by her and her grandmother. You know what I mean? Like, they can still have respect, but still people like her. So anyway, I'm enjoying it. It's really cute. But the reason I look like this, got my hair tucked in and everything, is it is so beautiful outside and I need vitamin D and I need exercise because as much fun as I'm having with booktube and like being able to express all of these creative ideas that I've had and film them and upload them, I have done absolutely nothing but work, eat, sleep, and YouTube. So I need some sunshine and exercise. So I know it's gonna slow down my reading speed, but I am going to go for a walk while I read. Let me know if anyone else does that. When I worked in Korea, I used to walk to work and from work every day. It was about a mile. It was actually really enjoyable. But I used to take my books on my phone and I would just increase the font size and I would just like walk to work and read. I would like kind of keep it up here so that I could check my peripherals and make sure I wasn't running into anyone. But I had that route nailed down to a T, so I would just read and walk and it was so nice. So that's what I do sometimes. It'll be a little bit different with the physical book, but I think it'll be a fun time. Okay, I'm gonna stop talking now and I'll see you guys in a bit. Minutes in and I just finished A Year Down Yonder by Richard Peck. This is so delightful. It's very small town. Everyone knows everyone's business. It follows a year of this girl who stays with her grandma. They go on a lot of adventures. Her grandma's just like, come along, girl. They steal pecans from a neighbor and then make him buy. They go hunting and trapping foxes, which raises money for grandma to buy her new shoes. She helps her make cherry tarts and they live through a tornado. Lots of shenanigans from the town. I loved how it wasn't like super overly detailed. It was very simple and to the point, and I've grown to really enjoy books like that lately. Because when you get a book that's written really well, even if it's short, it can still have a lot of impact and a lot of kick to it. I see why it's a classic and I see why it won some awards, because it does deal with some things, kind of a bully in the school, the war, or the effects of the war. It deals with poverty and people in kind of down and bad situations and helping them in various ways. It deals with people having an idea about you, maybe not the most positive idea about you, and making the most of it anyway, and like kind of showing them, not showing them up in a bad way, but showing them like they're wrong about you and you're more than just their opinion of you. I still have a few more hours until work, so I'm gonna go and pick out a few more books to read and see how much more reading I can get up to today. So here is the stack of shortest books that I physically own from shortest to longest. So it looks like the next shortest book that I own is the Mistletoe Motive by Chloe Lassay. Very excited to read this one next. It matches my outfit. I still have 7 hours and 42 minutes left in this challenge, so let's see how many hours I'll have left by the time I finish this book. Okay, this is delightful already. Very rivals to lovers. Apparently this is a slow burn, enemies to lovers, holiday romance, perfect for fans of the hating game, and you've got mail. Okay, I was trying to figure out who Mr. Frost or Jonathan reminded me of, because he reminded me of something, and he does. He reminds me of the main male character from the hating game, but also someone else. To be determined. I'm only on page 8, so I have a little bit of time left to figure out who he reminds me of. Hey friends, it's about time to go pick up the boys. If you're new here, I am a nanny part-time, and so I pick up some boys from school. I wanted to do a little update before then. I am almost 6 hours into the challenge, almost halfway, and I'm currently on page 100 of the Mistletoe Motive. Some things have kind of been revealed about each other. Some circumstances have kind of caused them to let down their walls and like stop being so full of animosity around each other. It's kind of starting to pick up in the romance department. I don't think I explained what this book was. This one is about a small bookshop, an independently owned bookshop that is potentially going out of business. These are their last 2 employees. In Gabriella's mind, only one of them can make it. Only one of them can continue working there. So she's kind of concocted this like competition for them to see who will end up staying on as the last employee. I don't know if Jonathan feels the same way, but that's kind of the short and sweet of the premise. I love the bookstore setting. There's a little bit of hockey in here, which I was pleasantly surprised about, so having like a dash of sports romance to it is really fun. About 70 pages to go. Hello again, my friends. It's the next day. I finished the Mistletoe Motive by Chloe Lassay around 7 hours last night. And then this morning, I started reading A Wrinkle in Time. I am now currently 9 hours and 31 minutes into the challenge. I would say I'm about halfway through this book, but I'm listening to it mostly on audio because I needed to clean and shower and like wrap some gifts and stuff like that. I'm actually gonna go wrap some more gifts, so we'll go ahead and throw on the headphones and do some listening while I do that. But I just wanted to give you guys a little bit of an update. This is like the old version. And while I don't like the font, which is partially why I'm listening to it, because that font just makes my eyes kind of hurt. I just love this cover. I think this is supposed to be Mrs. What's It or Mrs. Who's It. And maybe that's Mrs. Witch, or maybe that's the dark guy, the darkness. I'm really enjoying it. The narrator's done a really great job. I love all of her different voices for each of the characters. I love Charles, Meg's little brother, and I love Calvin. They're all just really sweet, and I'm really enjoying the kind of like science fiction-y aspect of things, or I guess maybe it's fantasy. I'm not sure. I feel like sometimes some stories toe the line between fantasy and science fiction. We'll see. Y'all, please don't judge me, but it is like a complete disaster space. Let me show you what I got the boys that I nanny for. I don't normally get them gifts, but I really wanted to this year. I got them Oodies because I'm obsessed with my Oodie, and every time they come to my place, they wear my Oodie. So I thought I would get them their own. So these are kids' Oodies. One of them loves blue and dogs, so I got him this like puppy dog one. And one of them loves red, and he's obsessed with pizza, so I got him a pizza one. So I'm really excited. I hope they like them. Time to wrap. Hello again, my friends. Let's do a reading wrap up for all of the books that I read in this challenge. First things first, I started with Fairest of All, a villain's graphic novel. I decided to read this one before The Crane Husband, even though technically this has less pages in it, because I felt like I could read through it faster. Then I read The Crane Husband by Kelly Barnhill. This book surprised me. I really enjoyed it. I think I'm going to test out more kind of horror-esque books in the future. I've really been enjoying them lately, and this one included. Then I read A Year Down Yonder by Richard Peck. I really enjoyed this. I'm glad I picked it up. It was just so wholesome and sweet. It's so cute to see a community coming together during tough times, and everyone's different ways of showing help and loving and caring for one another, and I really enjoyed this. Then I read The Mistletoe Motive by Chloe Lissay, which is a Christmas kind of bookstore in trouble, rivals to lovers, forced proximity type situation. It was really cute. I loved how well-rounded it was for being such a short story. I feel like pretty much everything got tied up really nicely. It was cute, it was fast, it was Christmassy. I also really enjoyed this. Then I read A Wrinkle in Time. I don't think I ended up updating you guys on this book. I listened to a majority of it. It was really good. I'm so glad I finally gave this an opportunity. I can see why it was so sensational for its time and why it continues to be a prime example of children's science fiction literature. I love the messages that were in this story, just about like persevering and pushing through that fear and letting others help you when they offer it and when they have the opportunity to. I just enjoyed that the kids had to like dig down deep and work together and trust each other to reach their goals in the end. Then last but not least, I still had 30 minutes left to read in the challenge, and so I decided to pick up No One Is Talking About This. Even though A Woman in Salt had less pages than this one has just really wide spacing of the font, and then the paragraphs or like thoughts, the way that it's presented is really spaced out, so I felt like I would go through this quicker. So in the 30 minutes that I read, I got 44 pages in. It's really weird, but really fascinating. I'm definitely engaged and interested in seeing where this goes. It already has really interesting concepts of like the internet kind of trapping us within it, and you know, whenever you go on like your doom scroll, it like traps you in it and you have such a hard time detaching yourself and getting out of that scroll and seeing what's next, and how it's like a diary of your life and the facets of the internet so far, even though it really is kind of a young creation, but how it's just entangled itself into our lives and become so integral to our culture. Anyway, I think this is going to be really fascinating. I'm really excited to continue this. So I want to put them in order of how much I enjoyed them. I'm going to put this at the bottom. I enjoyed this, but I think it was a little over descriptive in the writing, when that's kind of what the art is for. The art is supposed to also describe and explain what's going on in the story without as many words. This did not blend the art and the words of the story as well as it could have. Then I'm gonna put this next because I really haven't read enough of it to know for sure how I feel about it. This next part is gonna be really tough because I enjoyed like all of these so much. I think I'm gonna put The Mistletoe Motive next because I really enjoyed it, but it was short and therefore very tropey. Still had a great time reading it. Like, it was so fun and perfect for what I wanted. But these other books I just really loved. Gosh, I don't know. I think I'm gonna put A Wrinkle in Time next just because of the kind of dire situation that they were in during the story. It was tense and like I was worried for these children, even though I already knew how it was gonna end. Then I'm gonna put A Year Down Yonder because it was just so wholesome. Again, that aspect of community and working together, and like her grandmother was just really gruff on the outside but such a teddy bear on the inside. I loved it. And last but not least, on top, I'm gonna put The Crane Husband. I really enjoyed this. I could see myself rereading this and recommending this to people. Thank you so much for joining me for my 12 hours of reading short books marathon. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you could find a book that you could add to your TBR in the future. And if you've ever read any of these, please let me know. I'd love to know your thoughts on them. All right, my friends, thank you so much for watching. I hope you're doing well whenever and wherever you watch this video, and I will see you in my next one. Bye, everyone.